algorithms and data science and neural networks and image recognition, they're all just tools for a purpose. They're not an end unto themselves. And the way that one should build a solution to a problem is not with data science first. Solve it with a heuristic, speak to an expert, speak to a customer service person and say, well,
I'm probably going to get some funny answers to this, but that's fine. So data science, right? You touched on this earlier on, Joe, right? My question is reality or fiction? A little bit tongue-in-cheek, right? We know it's a real thing. The sub-question is how I learned to trust an algorithm. That's what I'm calling this section, right? So Joe, we're gonna come to you first here because you declared your data science status early on in the game, right? So you want all the data. You're a data scientist. It's a real thing, right?
Yeah, it is. I've seen it before. I think it's real, or it's a very good illusion. No, I think I can really build on what we've just been saying about trusting data and bias that you mentioned, Sam, is that there is bias in every data set. And I really want to challenge the idea that I look at data and therefore my decisions are objective, because that's just not ever true, ever. You may base it on data, but even take a survey, for example. There's selection bias in who you send the survey to. Sure. That's more obvious bias. But there's less obvious bias if you had all men write the survey questions. Then the answers that you're getting are biased in a certain way. And you just can't avoid that, because data is a product of human activity. You may go back 1,500 layers before you get to the human, but it is a product of humans, so it is always going to be biased. And so instead of assuming it's objective and then making decisions based on this feigned objectivity, you need to be aware of the biases. And that then translates through to algorithms that are based on that data. Because, like I said, they interpolate, and like you were saying, they interpolate the biases within the data and they reflect the biases in the data. We saw this with the early kind of word embeddings, where sexism was built so deeply into them that they couldn't be extracted, even though they were really powerful. And we need to be really cognizant at every stage. And that includes also the people who are doing the work. So one of the reasons I love Zego is because diversity is one of our top priorities, and you need a diverse team working on these data products, on the algorithms, to minimize and be aware of the bias.
So I heard, it's great, but I heard quite a lot of, actually, it's not all about the data science, right? It's about who's writing the algorithms and what goes into the algorithm, what goes behind it, right? But Jess, surely we're technologists, we're all fearful that data science is just going to take our jobs, right? It's just going to do everything for us.
Possibly, yes.
You don't seem worried about it.
Well, no, if you're as old as me, all the films are that we remember about robots taking over everything. So, it's a major fear point for us. But no, we saw it in life insurance, that everything there is driven by models. And it's only then when you go back to get your reinsurance from your reinsurers, you find out your models can be quite bad, because people are very good at lying as well on their insurance. I'm sure no one does it in this room. No one goes back and, what if I tick this? What if I go back to... No one does that at all.
No, never.
No. And now I actually have to spend quite a lot of my time trying to sell data science to our internal stakeholders, because people don't trust it on our product owner side. And it's about showing what the value is, but actually how you can improve on it all the time, and also demonstrating what you can do. So in your simplest form, yes, it's just a model and you play 6 games. It suggests to you, you might be interested in this one. That's great, but actually that might be the wrong order for earning the company money. So you want to be able to input into that, say, well, rank them actually in this way. And then where we're wanting to get to now is the ultimate thing, which is like very event-driven, where you want to be able to influence the way somebody navigates through your system. And by doing that, you can drive the experience, but you can also steer people where you want them to go. And I have to do a lot of selling that now, but selling it in a way that people realise there's still control it's not just machines making those decisions. There's still a certain part of human intelligence being incorporated into it.
Okay. So, James, from your point of view, have you had to be sold this? You mentioned you were using AI earlier on in some of the decision making that's happening. Have you had to be sold data science? Is data science a panacea for all of your problems? Tell us a little bit about how you use it.
I think my opinion is.
Having a disco.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
I thought the party was at the White Horse.
Yeah, it is. We're just getting warmed up.
I don't think we're always going to have the choice.
Right.
I think if organisations, the business element, aren't already looking down the line strategically and realising they won't have the skilled workforce to achieve what they want to achieve now, then they're missing a trick. And that's why you need to release or adjust your risk profile now to be able to accommodate for that, especially so where we are. Skilled workforce within the NHS is only getting less and less. Right. Stepping out of Brexit highlighted that physically with our nursing and clinical workforce, right? We felt the hit from that. And I'm sure organisations are seeing that too. I spoke earlier about having to compete with other organisations. So unless we do embrace that and start to adjust that and realise that it's there for the good and it can be augmented, it can be managed, the risk, the governance that's around it, blah, 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 blah. We need to augment that skilled workforce now to undertake and automate activity, to your point earlier, so that those with the emotional intelligence that are human can do the value-add stuff that wraps around it to keep it safe, to maximise it.
Great. So it's interesting that we need more skilled people in this area, but there are challenges with doing that. Does that mean that our maybe more business-focused colleagues down the end have got to start getting their data science thing on? Have they got to? What are you going to do about this, Sam? Are you just waiting for an algorithm builder to come out, or what?
Totally. I mean, I'm going to be replaced by an algorithm pretty soon. So my data science colleagues have already told me they're getting rid of me and replacing me with a bot. So there we go. Maybe I am already replaced by one. But the reality is that we don't have enough workforce. People expect more value. They want efficiency. If we're going to bring down the cost of delivering services, we're going to have to apply the technology, the science. And I go back to three things. What problem am I trying to solve? What's the need case? And that will determine my risk appetite. And from that, can I or can't I apply an algorithm or the science directly? And if I'm dealing with a practical need and something very practical, I'm probably more happy to apply the science. If I'm dealing with a clinical need, probably somewhere in between. My degree of confidence probably halfway down the line. And if it's an emotional need, I almost definitely will not apply an algorithm because it's highly unlikely to pick up an emotional need from someone. And that sort of determines where I go with it. But do I trust an algorithm? Yes, for some things, but not for everything.
Okay, cool. So Ian, representing some of the companies that we talked right at the top of the hour about, data being that all-important thing, and James corrected us quite rightly saying, well, maybe not so important, everybody's getting very excited about it. Data science is one of those things that, we've been used to data for a while, but now data science is a little bit newer, right? Are people jumping on the bandwagon? We've got Sam seemed pretty savvy in his approach. He's trusting some algorithms. He's not trusting others. He's using them for meaning and purpose. Are you hearing from some of your clients that they're just like, all my problems I need to solve with data science?
To a degree, I think many organisations I work for, which is more public and third sector, are still a bit at the stage of thinking data's the answer. They're not even at the data science or automation point yet. To me, what the interesting thing here is that exec teams, boards don't get any of this stuff. They are clueless about data, no disrespect to anybody, but they just don't.
Saying that now doesn't count.
I know it's
right?
too late.
Yeah.
Now.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It's being filmed as well. But they don't understand this. So what would happen if someone was to talk about data science to say a charity board? The board would ask for a paper to be written. So someone would write a paper, it would get discussed, there'd be a lengthy, fairly pointless conversation with no outcome. Oh, so we must hire a data scientist would possibly be the best outcome you could reach. To me, I think what I would sort of do encourage organisations to do is actually just trust and empower their people much more. So I'd much rather spend some time investing in a competition for someone in the organisation to write an algorithm to do something that's going to get you something far faster than trying to do it through the top and that very hierarchical command structure that still exists.
I think that sounds sensible. We've got to take people on that journey. Joe, wrap us up here on this, right? I think that, as the card-carrying data science in the room, right? Data scientists in the room.
No pressure.
If people here are thinking, I need to go back and I need to convince my board that we need to do something, or they've got a challenge or a problem, how should they just get started? How should they learn to trust an algorithm?
Well, I think that algorithms and data science and neural networks and image recognition, they're all just tools for a purpose. They're not an end unto themselves. And the way that one should build a solution to a problem is not with data science first. Solve it with a heuristic, speak to an expert, speak to a customer service person and say, well, how do you solve this problem? Let's write a couple of if statements, see how that performs. Okay, well then, iteratively, how do we improve that? Oh, do we need to apply a random forest? Do we need a neural network? Can we bring in unstructured data? But later, first, just solve the problem for some people simply with a heuristic and go from there.
Solve the problem simply. You heard it here first. Okay, can we have a round of applause for our panel? Thanks very much.